Hey, welcome to day 21. We're in Job 8 through 11. And today we're going to really get into some little things that are off of Job. But I do want to revisit what Job is, what's happening to Job in each of these chapters so we can kind of get through it and see what's going on. We're in chapter 8 and we hit verse 6, and it says, "And if you are pure and live with integrity, he will surely rise up and restore your happy home. And though you started with little, you will end with much." Okay, so it starts off right off the bat by saying, if you are pure and live with integrity. Well, this is Bildad's response, I think. Yes, and of course, thanks, Bildad. If I live pure and live with integrity. Of course, Job has already been shown to have integrity. God has said, hey, have you seen my friend Job? He's got all the integrity of anybody. So he was righteous in God's sight. So Bildad assumes that he's not righteous. He doesn't have integrity. And of course, Job does. So right off the bat, we revisit this thought that, this is not a normal situation. The book of Job is not normal. Don't compare yourself to Job in this situation. We can compare ourselves when we suffer and stuff, but this is beyond what we're normally used to. And then he says, he will surely rise up and restore your happy home. There's a little foreshadowing. Job's eventually going to have everything restored, but not because he's got integrity, because God told Satan to go ahead and test him, and then God restores Job to where he was at. And then it says, and though you started with little, you will end with much. Okay, so there's the foreshadowing for what's to come. Then we hit chapter 9. I want to hit a few things here. Verse 2, yes, I know all this is true in principle. This is Job's response to his wonderful friend. True in principle, but how can a person be declared innocent in God's sight? If someone wanted to take God to court, would it be possible to answer him even once in 1,000 times? For God is so wise and so mighty, who has ever challenged him successfully? Okay, so here's the point. Job really has a good point to say, hey, I need to take God to court because he's all over me. I got nothing. But the thing is, he really has nothing. He can't say, hey, look at what I've done. I've created all the stars. I've done all these things. Job can't say anything. He is just a human being that was created by God. You can't, all of us, we couldn't take God to court. God's wise beyond measure, and we'd lose every time. But there's nothing left for Job. There's nothing. He's got nothing. His health is gone. He's lost his family. And then a side note on verse 9, he made all the stars, the Bear and Orion, the Pleiades, and the constellations of the southern sky. I just wanted to point out this part is that even back then, they understood the constellations. They understood how things moved across the sky. It wasn't like they were stupid, ignorant cavemen. These people were smart. They understood things. Something to think about. Verse 14, so who am I that I should try to answer God or even reason with him? Even if I were right, I would have no defense. I could only plead for mercy. So he says, even if he was right. So now he's gone for saying, what did I have done wrong to? Well, obviously I've done something wrong. Even if I was right, I couldn't stand up to God. I could not defend myself. And we can't. We can't defend ourselves. We are guilty beyond measure. And Job was far more pure than any of us. I want to touch on that here in a second. Though I am innocent, this is verse 20. Though I am innocent, my own mouth would pronounce me guilty. Though I am blameless, it would prove me wicked. Verse 24, the whole earth is in the hands of the wicked, and God blinds the eyes of the judges. If he's not the one who does it, who is? Okay, so this part, verse 24, the whole earth is in the hands of the wicked. This just seems like, you look out into our world and we're like, things have not changed. The whole world is in the hands of the wicked. We get good people that get into office and they get corrupt. They get bought. Not everybody is like that. But he's making a blanket statement about the world. And God blinds the eyes of the judges. Wow, look at our judges today. If he's not the one who does it, who is? Again, you have differences here. You have people that can make decisions that are bad. You have the angels who can do things as long as they're permitted by God to affect things, such as Satan affecting things. and you have God who can say, no, this is what's going to happen. You can blame yourself, you can blame Satan, you can blame God. I would suggest neither of the last two. You should just, if you do something wrong, blame yourself. If something bad happens to you, then good luck trying to figure it out, because that's the key question of many things. And why do bad things happen? That's a whole 45-minute sermon. That's a whole nother topic. And Job is a good place to start with that, but that's another topic. Verse 33, if only there were a mediator between us. A mediator. Wonder who that could be. Mediator, how about Christ? Someone who could bring us together. Someone who bridges the chasm. Christ. Then the mediator could make God stop beating me and would no longer live in terror of his punishment. Then I could speak to him without fear, but I cannot do that in my own strength. Remember, we should fear God, and God isn't without the view of physically punishing people. I mean, gosh, you get into what Moses did when we get into Exodus, and I mean, he started killing a whole bunch of his own people, his chosen people. So don't sit there and say, well, God would never hurt us. Yeah, he would. I mean, you got to get that through your head. God will hurt you if you cannot stop doing what you're doing, whatever it takes to turn you from your path. I'm not saying that God is a bad being. No, he is a just being. If you're being punished by God, you justly deserve it, and get over it. Verse 7, although you know I am not guilty, no one can rescue me from your hands. So here's Job finally saying, I'm not guilty. What is the deal? But it doesn't really matter. No one can rescue me except for Christ. And of course, at this point in time in our history, Christ has not done what he did. Verse 10, you guided my conception and formed me in the womb. You clothed me with skin and flesh, and you knit my bones and sinews together. So there's a couple places in the Bible where it talks about God knitting us together, and this is one of them. If you look at how one cell goes into another, and the things that are in the cell, you get this irreducible complexity by Dr. Michael Behe. If you look that up, Dr. Michael Behe, irreducible complexity, you're going to get a whole bunch of stuff, and then you're going to get all these atheists saying, oh, we proved him wrong. No, you can't miss the fact. So irreducible complexity is this. There's pieces that go together and make something, like a motor, an engine. You have all these pieces that make an engine. Well, it comes down to this. Well, where'd those pieces come from? You can keep breaking it down and keep breaking things down. Eventually, you get to something that can't be broken down, that didn't come from someplace else. Darwin, if he were alive today, there's no way he would say there isn't a God. He would sit there and say, well, where'd these come from? Oh, these are not adapted from anything. There are parts that make us up that did not come from anything. They were not adapted from something else. They did not evolve. They are the way they are. They're irreducible. Where'd they come from? So those types of things. You formed me in my mother's womb. This is not a far-fetched thing. If God is infinite and can do all things, then he can definitely put us together in our mother's wombs in a very tiny, microscopic way. He can affect it all. And then we get into Zophar's response, and it's just one friend after another saying wonderful things. So that is day 21. We will continue. We're almost halfway through, so it's actually going to go fairly quickly as we go through the book of Job. And I'll keep pointing out little things here and there about Job. And as we go through and get near the end, we'll try to tie it all together and say, hey, this is really what Job's all about. So I'll see you tomorrow.